Hunt is directed by Craig Zobel, if I'm saying that name correctly, from a script that was co-written by Damon Lindelof, the creator of shows like Lost and HBO's Watchmen, and of course is another low-budget film from Blumhouse Productions. The basic premise can be understood just from the initial trailers. 12 strangers wake up in a clearing, their mouths are gagged, they're unsure of why they're there or why they got there, but they're there for a very specific reason. A group of globalist elites have gathered for the very first time for a session of The Most Dangerous Game, which, if you guys have not read that book, or did not have to read that book in, I think I had to read it in high school. I don't know, it was like middle school or high school, but anyway. The Most Dangerous Game, hunting and killing these people. The film has been through the ringer as far as being able to actually premiere for everyone to see. It was originally supposed to come out last September, September 2019, but then it was shifted to October, then it was shifted back to the original release date, which was odd. But anyway, then things changed when there was a mass shooting in El Paso, Texas on the 3rd of August, as well as a mass shooting the very next day in Dayton, Ohio. And because of this, the studio made, in my opinion, the smart decision to pull the film from the release date indefinitely. And now, just to be clear, I don't believe that a film should have to suffer simply because of the time period in which it's supposed to release. I don't think that that's very fair, but at the same time, I'm not ignorant to the idea that it would have suffered in many ways, including financially, and also would have been put under a shit ton of scrutiny for releasing around such a time. So, you know, especially because of the material of the film. But then we got to February, and they had finally announced, yes, we are releasing this next month. We are releasing it in March. And, of course it did, but Corona happened. My Corona! It was only able to get a small amount of time in the theaters before it ended up having to be put in for a digital release. But for me, instead of spending $20 for a rental, because that is f***ing ridiculous, if you do that, it's nothing against you guys. If it works for you, there you go. It's just ridiculous for me. I personally would not do that. But anyway, instead of doing that, I get to watch it in a theater in about a little over an hour, and I'm very happy about that. Because it'll have been, let me think, the film came out March 13th, and as of now, that's about a month and a week ago, give or take. Maybe a day or two. But anyway, that's been since its theatrical release. And I'm happy about seeing this movie for two reasons. One! This one's the most obvious if you've been watching me for a little bit. This is the most obvious. I get to see a movie in a movie theater, and that always makes me happy. A new release in a movie theater when I haven't gotten the chance to see a new movie in a theater in a couple of weeks, f***ing sign me up. Two! This film got so much backlash before it even came out, especially from the right-wing media and President Trump himself, because in their minds, the film was made to just inflame and cause chaos, and that's a direct quote. Yeah, just let that soak in. And really, I didn't see it that way from the trailers, and basically what I think I'm going to get out of this film is a film that's a pure satire, as it's been said that it is, but instead of just towards one political party, it's going to be towards both. And even though in my recent days I've started realizing that my own beliefs and morals have me leaning more towards a progressive/liberal mindset, which I know will piss off my parents if they ever watch this video, I still believe that both sides of the coin are very worthy of criticism. But anyway, we shall see what we get into. Anyway, let's get into the normal stuff. Before I head out to see the movie, I first want to remind you guys to hit that like button, and also to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, especially that button if you're not already a subscriber. And a short disclaimer for those of you who are new, I do a pro and con list, or a pro and con setup with my reviews, but I usually don't keep the section separate, but sometimes I do. I don't know. We'll see how the overall product emerges as we go through the review together. Anyway, I will see you guys shortly after I come back from seeing The Hunt. The film starts off almost immediately with the blood and the gore, and it rarely stops after that point. They make you know early on that this is going to be an extremely violent movie. And the first act was just very surprising to me, definitely the most intriguing to me, because you're put in this headspace where you don't know who the lead character is or who the lead characters are, and that leads to a bunch of twists early on that I honestly wasn't expecting this part of the story to go so hard on with certain ideas. Okay, so I made this part last, but it kind of tied to the last one. I'm making this after I started the editing process. But anyway, so just a quick statement for this one. The first act is not the only section of the film that's good. The entire film at about 89 minutes, if I remember correctly, so right around that hour and a half mark, gives very little breathing room and is mostly high octane throughout. It was just that the first act really stood out for particular reasons, but all in all, the entire, like all three acts are really well done. And once you're able to get a grasp at who you're meant to follow, who the lead character is, that's when the film really begins to pick up on a story level, especially. And that's mostly due to what is probably the performance that will get everyone to look at Betty Gilpin as a movie-caliber actress. I know that she was on Netflix's show Glow, and her performance in that was lauded as well. But outside of that, I think you could probably ask most people if they know the name Betty Gilpin, and they won't know who you're talking about, and, you know, it's just, you know, obviously she's not a household name yet. If this film had more time to shine in the theaters, it probably would have been seen best as, in the same light as Samara Weaving in Ready or Not, which came out last, was it last year? I'm pretty sure it was last year. Honestly, the isolation's kind of getting to me just a little bit, but I'm pretty sure it's last year, and I'm a little too lazy to do my research. Everything that was apparent to me before I've already written down in my notes. So anyway, I'm just gonna keep going before I start rambling about nothing. But anyway, it would have been seen best in the same light as Samara Weaving's performance in Ready or Not, which honestly, that film's very similar in tone and concept to The Hunt. Oh God. Two films made within a year of each other, I think, with a lead female badass giving an energetic performance, and the film involves the lead female battling against rich elitists. I'm hoping that this doesn't become a trend. I feel like this as a trend could get tiresome. All joking aside though, Gilpin brings a similar veracity to her role as Samara Weaving did, and she's also really funny in this film as this woman who's just kind of thrown in the middle of this extremely terrible situation, and for the most part she doesn't even care. The situation is almost a bit of an annoyance to her, if anything, and it makes her all the more likable as a character, and it's easy to like her because of how indifferent she is about everything. All the other characters that are shown are just shown as extremes of both, that are on both sides of our beautiful and very, very flawed political spectrum. And her being in the middle will most likely mean that the majority of people will like her, regardless of whatever their political standing is.
Comedy.
I'm happy to say that the film does indeed poke fun at both sides instead of just targeting one side, which is good. That's what I wanted, and I think it does it very well. And sadly, with how triggered people get these days, I can see some viewers walking away from this film just thinking it's a terrible film because it made fun of my beliefs in a very serious way, and you should not make fun of these issues. Not realizing that they were watching a political satire, hopefully knowing what a satire truly is, which is poking fun at basically ourselves. We're just making fun of ourselves at that point. But like I said, this satire has no singular focus as far as which side to poke fun at more, and the poking in this film is more like poking a tiger with a foot-long stick. And I can say this because I know my parents do not watch anything that I make, so I'll just say it. If my parents happened to sit down and watch this film, they would immediately turn it off within minutes because they felt attacked and would say it's a terrible film without knowing anything past about minute 3. They do this a lot with some of the films that I buy, since we happen to share some of our VOD services together. It's just cheaper that way in the long run. But anyway, you're getting off the topic of my parents. Your enjoyment of the film will likely come down to how entertained you are by a political satire made in 2020, or released in 2020. You get what I mean. But just remember, this film is not making fun of you specifically, or your political associations. No, it's making fun of yours and theirs. It does not matter. It's just making fun of our collective way of how we react to things. And if anything, the reactions of people like the president with that tweet that I quoted earlier, it actually proves the film's point. This subtitle may be a bit confusing. It was kind of for me as well. I didn't know how to, I couldn't find a better way to describe it, so just in case, let me explain. While tackling both sides of this argument is commendable, I think, and it's nice that both sides are made fun of. God, I hate saying both sides. That's not a way to rate things, let's be honest. Everything, when you break it down, is more of a spectrum, and there's like different layers to the spectrum, and labels do honestly simplify things way too much, and usually in negative ways. Labels can help, but I think I'm starting to realize in the long run, it's not helping. Oh, sorry, anyway, sorry, rambling as usual. Back to the point. The jokes made are so broad that you kind of wish that they would focus more on certain ideas, even if it's just for a few seconds longer, instead of going in multiple directions all at once, all at the same time. You know, 1 second making fun of, okay, as an example, let's take some things that Republicans believe in. 1 second making fun of how characters own way more guns than they need to, which honestly, I'll probably somewhat be the same way when I get back to the States. I don't know, we shall see. But, rambling again. And then, the next making fun of the idea of crisis actors, or the idea of crisis actors. And this is all in, like, rapid succession, and many times it can come across as a little too heavy-handed. And I know, just from the writing standpoint, it would kind of bring the quality of the film down a little bit, but luckily they didn't focus on that too much. They would do it for, like, maybe a couple of minutes, and then they'd get back to the action, and then it's like, yes, I love this. The more high-octane propulsion of this film can also hinder it for some, especially those who love soaking themselves into characters and understanding them and their stories. And we don't even really learn that much about our main lead until the end of the film, and basically, when you really think about it, everybody is cannon fodder at some point in this film, which, you know, that's kind of the point of everybody. But, you know, anyway, back to the lead character. Sure, she's an entertaining character, and the performance really adds to that entertainment, so the fact that I mentioned with the lack of character or character development, it doesn't completely bother me, but I also was not ignorant to the fact either. So it's kind of one of those things where it's a toss-up. I don't know, some people will be completely fine with this, others will look at it and think, this movie's not that good in the long run. And then there's people like me who are kind of in the middle, but then, you know, kind of jumping back and forth between those points. So like I said, your mileage with The Hunt is primarily based off of things like how well can you take a joke that's directed at things that people heavily believe in as far as political ways goes, including those beliefs that you have. Also, your understanding of what a satire is. You know, can you see the dark humor in a really shitty situation, such as people getting hunted for sport, like that kind of thing. Things like that. But for me personally, I was very entertained by The Hunt. I don't think it was worth the controversy that the film garnered before it was even released, before anybody even watched the film, but at the same time, it also led to a very tongue-in-cheek poster that I love. It's a basic one, but I love it. So I definitely recommend this to all of you guys, but as we sit right now, when this video is being recorded, we are still in this part of this epidemic with the coronavirus where films that were only in theaters for maybe a couple of weeks at most are now available on VOD services like Vudu or Amazon Prime, or I can't think of any others off the top of my head other than the ones that I use personally, but they're being sold, or not sold, they're being offered to moviegoers or casual, and what, I don't know why I had a brain fart. Anyway, they're being offered to people for a $20 rental. Do I recommend any film at that price for a rental? I said this with The Invisible Man, a film that I really loved and I wish I could own right now. And I'll say it again. No, I do not recommend that. That price is way too damn high for a rental, in my opinion. But hey, if the studios can actually profit off of this sort of thing in these difficult times where they can't take advantage of a movie theater, then you know what, good for them. And if you can... if a $20 rental can work for you, sure, go ahead. I don't think you're inherently wrong. I don't think I'm inherently right. It's just, it doesn't compute in my head, is basically what I'm saying. But, I don't know, I just hope that it works out to an extent, but also doesn't become a trend in the future. I do, however, recommend it for purchase if you want. A regular priced rental, you know, the normal ones where it was like $3 to $5, I'm fine with that. And then also checking it out whenever it shows up on a streaming service like Netflix or whatever. But anyway, with that... sorry. I stopped breathing for a second. And brain fart. It's nice how my brain works, really. And with that weird brain up that I just had, my review ends here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, don't forget to hit that like button and also hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I hope to get out some more videos soon. I've been extremely busy with stuff like work. I just started schooling. I'm going for an associate's degree tied to my job. It's not exactly what I want, but you know, it's a stepping stone. That's the first stepping stone that I have to do. And I'm about to actually go up for a new certification in my job, so I'm gonna be busy for a while, so I'll see. And also, it doesn't help that I've been playing Animal Crossing way too much instead of, like, preparing for any reviews or even making, doing notes for new reviews. I don't know, it's just... I'm just piling so much on me, and the isolation, the isolation when I'm not going to work, being an essential employee, definitely does not help. I will probably get to the point where I get not too stressed, but stressed enough to where I'll take up smoking again. But you know what'll help me keep from smoking? You guys subscribing. You see how that's done, kids? You know how you get more subscribers? Exactly what I just did. Emotional manipulation. But yeah, seriously, please subscribe to the channel. Show me how good a job you think that I did. Anyway, as always, farewell until the next video, all of you casual moviegoers and movie fans alike, and keep on being awesome.